All right, welcome to tonight's pre-training, the role of the parent guide. This is a pre-training for new parent guides of Guide by Your Side. We're going to get started with our pre-test questions. The first question reads, in a nationwide survey, 97% of parents of a deaf or hard of hearing child stated that they preferred to get support and information from another parent of a deaf and hard of hearing child. True or false? And then just check your answer in the box. All right, excellent. Number 2, parent guides are A, knowledgeable about EI and educational options, B, able to offer unbiased information about modes or methods of communication, C, sensitive to the range of emotional responses that families experience, D, they have specialized parenting skills that emphasize meeting the unique needs of a child who is deaf or hard of hearing, or E, all of the above. Okay. 3, an effective parent guide does not adhere to the theory of and practice of confidentiality. True or false? Four, parents have the right to A, drive a foreign car, B, change your agenda for the visit, C, to receive inconsistent information, or D, to be abusive. And these are the parents that you're working with. All right, and 5. When examining yourself for this role, you should ask, am I coping well with my own emotional issues, which was A, B, am I able to wear 2 different socks, C, can I identify the agenda of others, or D, is my belly button clean? Yes, I am a little silly. Thank you, Mindy. All right. So again, welcome. We're going to go ahead and roll with the training here tonight. Why do we do what we do, and what is it that we're doing? So this is why we do what we do, because in a nationwide survey, 97% of parents of deaf and hard of hearing children say that they preferred to get support and information from another parent of a deaf and hard of hearing child. We want to hear and learn from those that have been before us. And if you think about it, a lot of our situations in life are similar to that. I mean, if we're going to look at schools, we talk to other parents who may or may not use that school. If we're looking at cars, we talk to other individuals who may or may not have chosen that type of car that we're looking at. We learn from others' experience, and we value that. And it's the same thing with parenting, whether it's parenting a child who is deaf or hard of hearing or parenting just in general. We learn from each other. So, parent guides have special skills, obviously. We're not just the parent, we go beyond that. So why a parent guide? Well, because we have knowledge of what it's like raising a child with hearing loss, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. We understand and respect the emotions that come from the journey. We can offer specific information and experiences relating to EI and educational options. We have the skills. We have been there, and we're still doing it. We're still learning and still moving and going on our own, too. We offered unbiased information, making the choice theirs. Remember, again, the Hands and Voices slogan, what works for your child makes it the right choice. Think of that every time you're working with the family. We are not trying to figure out their agenda. We are not trying to figure out what's the best case scenario for them. We're going to lay it out and let it happen. And sometimes we might go into a meeting thinking of, okay, the family has a 2-month-old, this is probably how they're feeling, and that may not be the case. So again, don't go in with the notion of here's what we're going to tackle tonight. You really just let the family lead you. We can supply them with resources specific for a child with hearing loss. We know what's out there. Maybe we've used it ourselves, maybe we've heard of somebody else who has used it, but we're able to get them connected. We know our state and the EDDI system. We can take feedback from these parents to these systems so that they can help facilitate improvement and change. So these parents don't feel like their story goes unheard. If there are issues out there, we can possibly make changes or improvements to that. And you're not just any parent off the street. You have skills. There was a reason why you've been chosen to be added to our team. You are well trained, and you have our National Hands of Voices and Guide by Your Side programs to back you up in what you do. So what does the role of the parent guide really look like? Are you a professional? Are you a parent? Well, right now you are both. And it's interesting because today's meeting was with key players in the system and in the state this morning or this afternoon. And I left the meeting and I was speaking with a colleague and I said, I hope that they didn't see me as a troublemaker parent. And she goes, I don't see you that way. I see you as a professional. And it was interesting her take. Now, she didn't say I wasn't a troublemaker, but I hope that you begin to see yourself in both roles as well. And the reason why I felt that way is because I was the only parent in that room. The rest were professionals. Like, that's their job. They don't have a child with hearing loss. So you're a professional in the sense that you will take care of families in a timely and consistent manner. You won't make things up, and you won't discount what families have to share. Just because you've heard it before doesn't mean that you can't let that family share with you now again. You're professional in the sense that your voice has a place. Again, if you hear things, things that may not be working, or maybe something that needs a second look, you have somewhere to bring that to. Professional in the sense that you're constantly networking and sharing the Guide by Your Side mission, creating partnerships with professionals for really a team approach to providing care for the family. And as the parent, we get it. No one has to explain how or why they're feeling the way they do. We understand it, and we have the strength to be there and see them through that. As a parent, we can connect in a way that any of the other providers can't. We understand the questions that may come from extended family, the looks in the store, the questions, the personal questions that come from strangers who really don't have a place to be asking it in the first place. But we get it, and we can walk them through it. How do the families we serve understand the role? Don't keep them in the dark. Explain what you can do for them and why you're an awesome parent guide and what our program can do for them. And how does the system see you now? Well, now you may be more committed to projects or be called on by professionals than in the past, and that is okay. It helps us continue to grow. It helps to continue to stretch you as well, too. And remember, you are representing others. That baby that was born today with hearing loss, you are representing them and their family and making a difference. And as always, you must act professionally in regard to confidentiality, timeliness when representing the system, either when serving the families or working with professionals. You've got to keep that in mind. So here you can clearly see, the do column, the don't column, and remember some of these points, are in other trainings as far as like sharing your story and whatnot. So guides we know how to share their story concisely and appropriately. We're not going to walk into every meeting with a family, saying, okay, here's how it happened for me, and as you can see, I'm all right, so no worries. The point of the meetings isn't us. We provide unbiased, non-judgmental, emotional support. We go with the family's agenda. Again, let the family lead you unless they don't know what to ask or where to go. Then you take charge, but you never make choices for them. We share resources and information in a comprehensive manner. We maintain ethical standards and actively develop their knowledge base. So these families know more, they're able to make better decisions. We don't sway a family's opinion through bias. We don't manipulate families to make one decision over another. We don't air personal issues and put ourselves in the spotlight. Again, it's about the families, not us. We don't provide intervention or professional services. And sometimes, you know, we've had guides in the past, or we currently on our team, that wear different hats. And so we might have a guide such as Allie, as we do know, who is a teacher of the deaf. But when she's in the role of the parent guide, she doesn't offer therapy. She doesn't teach sign language. You know, she offers suggestions. She shares her experiences. She provides resources. We don't give medical advice or share opinions about service providers. Again, I can't stress this enough. We never badmouth a provider, item, or service, because what goes around comes around, and we certainly don't want anything we say or do to scar the program. We may have had personal situations. I know my family's had a personal situation with a provider, with other things, but I don't share that. I don't want to skew another person's experience. And if you think about what's out there, think about all our communication modes. Think about the different amplification choices that we have. That's why we have choices, because not everything works for everyone. That's why we have more than one provider, you know, pediatric ENT out there. It's because not everyone clicks with everyone. And so many factors come into that. I mean, just not even the clicking part, but there's insurance to factor, distance to factor, and so forth. So leave the personal experiences out of it. Leave the I heard it through the grapevine out of it. Stick with the facts. So we provide that direct parent-to-parent support. We support families because we understand what supports helped us and what we wish we had, and sometimes the things that set us back. This gives us the unique perspective. And again, we're not going to lead the family saying, don't do this, it's a waste of time. We'll let them see if it works for them, and if it does, great, and if not, we help them move ahead. Sometimes you'll find situations where families will try it, and it's working, and then something changes. And you know what? You might have to reassess the situation and choose a different path, and that's okay. We are trained how to share what is enough, what is appropriate, and again, this is shared in other trainings that we have, but just remember the three rule. If you're sharing information about schooling options, try to give them 3 different options. If you're sharing a website or information about potty training, you know, try to come up with 3 different articles on potty training so that it gives them more things to consider, and really letting them make a choice and empowering them to read them and make choices. We are still just a parent. We do not judge them for what they say or how they are feeling. We are the safe place for them to share those things, and make sure you tell them that. Because if they need to get past those emotions to help their child and to move on in the journey, they need some place to do that. And let them bounce their ideas off of you. Why not? Again, and we're not going to say, well, that's silly or that's stupid, but just giving them that listening ear and giving them the direction that they need, helping them. Our team is so diverse. Our children are all different. from the ages of their diagnosis, degrees of loss, additional needs, amplification they use, what they used before, the journey in between, communication choices. Again, in our team, there's a little bit of everything, which makes us great. So please don't hesitate to use the team for suggestions, resources, and experiences. Put it out there. The best way to do that is the Yahoo group. We have it for a reason. Files are out there, as well as it's a great way to communicate with the team. And you know it's just going to the team. Well, and Karen and Ginger too. We are part of Hands and Voices National, which means beyond the 15 guides that are on the team, there are hundreds of them all across the world for us to network with. We lead our families to a bigger picture and network sharing through our program and leading them on to Hands and Voices. And that really is our end goal. When they are finished with the services that they need through Guide by Your Side, we direct them to our Hands and Voices chapter so that they can continue to be connected and have the opportunities to still network with other families and for their children to still be with peers and attend events and such. And through these national connections, relationships have been built with the key players in the system who recognize us as partners and, more importantly, as leaders. Yeah, we can do it. We are not just a parent. An effective parent guide, we build our skills. We really work hard to keep you up to date with what's happening in Illinois. We also listen to you and what your needs are. And this leads to us, trying to enhance the program with additional tools for use or tailoring our webinars with topics to help you expand your skill set. And again, we try to record the trainings so that you can view them if they're topics that we've had in the past, know that they're, still options for you to learn more about. For instance, syndromes associated with hearing loss, progressive hearing loss, cued speech. Those are trainings we have in the past, and it doesn't mean that we won't do them again in the future as a refresher, too. Things change. We are prepared for the family. We get back in a timely manner. Again, I can't stress that enough. If you aren't ready to take that incoming call, you don't know who it is, you're not sure what they need, let the machine pick it up and listen to the message. Then you can have time to prepare and turn around, return their calls, and be ready for what their needs may be. Also, don't hesitate to say, I don't know, but I'll be happy to look into it more and get back with you. But make sure you do that. Don't leave them hanging. Remember when you first found out, that first year, all the emotions you've had, and kind of how quickly things were moving along, and overwhelmed feeling that you might have had. I know from my experience, I couldn't get enough information fast enough, let alone explain in a way that I would understand and not above me. Remember, this is, more than likely what your families are experiencing. And just because we've grown out of that stage, it's still important to them, and they need help. So make sure you help them. Watch the language you use. Don't talk above them. Watch the acronyms, the ones that we could probably say in our sleep now. Make sure you take the time to ask them or explain the acronym. Sometimes even if you ask them and you say, well, don't you know what EDDI means? Well, maybe from the tone of your voice or, how it was phrased, they could be like, I should know what EDDI means. So I'm just going to smile and say yes, because they don't want to seem like they're not an appropriate parent for their child, which is not fair, but it's true. So, again, instead of posing the question to them, maybe just explaining it. Again, use your teammates, use me. We work together to support the team. This creates and maintains our seamless system of support. We do not talk about families that we're working with to our neighbors, our kids, our gym teacher, whoever. We're respecting the family. We don't want anyone talking about our situation, and it's the same with the families that we work with. And that's why it's very important when you are working with them that you have a quiet, private environment to do so at home. or if you're out. So before you walk through the door or pick up the phone, make sure you kind of check these points. Know your resources. Are you prepared for what the family has asked for? When I do an intake, I always ask families, is there anything I can tell the parent guide that you're interested in or need more information on so I can give them a heads up before they talk with you? And if there is, I jot it down on the intake form, and then when we talk, before you talk with the family, we have a one-on-one conversation, and I'll point those things out to you. So you will have some time to kind of do a little prep work. And, you know, if, again, you don't know, or if they surprise you with something that maybe I didn't share because they didn't share it with me, then, again, I don't know, but I can get back to you if you don't know. Know yourself. What am I awesome at? What needs some work? And what is my PBS, my personal belief system? Our PBS is a set of propositions held to be true based on our experiences, assumptions, and education. So PBSs are unique to me. We know what we know. I know what I know, and that's my PBS. So explore your PBSs and recognize when you share those truths, your truths, and what impact it will have on the family. Are we skewing the decision process? Okay? Our PBS is not to be used to manipulate a family. Know your role. What hat are you wearing? Again, you know, if you're in the early intervention system or if you're a teacher of the deaf and you're also a guide, what are you going in doing? Maybe you've known them before you were set up with a guide. Are you their friend? Are you their guide? You know, that also becomes a fine line. Understand that you might have intentions for this meeting, but again, the family leads the way. So your role might, or your agenda might not be what actually happens at the end of that meeting. Again, we all have limits. Don't tell them you understand if you've never heard about CMV, atresia microtia, or whatever else they might be sharing with you. That's okay. You can either, you know, ask them to explain it to you more, or if you think that that's something that the family doesn't maybe not be up to. Maybe they don't have the strength for that conversation, or maybe they're sharing with you that they're just so sick and tired of explaining it. Then probably might not be a good question or a good thing to ask. Well, can you tell me about it? Just carry them to that conversation and give them, you know, especially in a situation like that, give them suggestions to reduce the stress or something that they can do to take a break, because that sounds like what they might be needing in that situation. And then you'll have the opportunity after you're done talking with that family to explore it a little bit more. Again, reaching out to the team. It's okay not to know because this is how we grow. Think about everything you didn't know when you started on this journey and how much you know now. Amazing. Overall, our main intention is to empower the families to successfully lead their family, to tackle the unknown with confidence and power. So be positive with them. No one likes a Debbie Downer. You are a role model for them. If you emulate a positive and proactive behavior, they will take that and run with it. Again, the family leads you. You are there to guide the family from there. We do occasionally have families who are in the program that may send mixed signals or say that they're fine, but they don't want to exit the program. And we go through this in trainings on, you know, how to work through those situations with families. And if that isn't enough, don't hesitate to reach out to me and we can talk through it. Let the family know that you may offer suggestions or resources, but it's up to them to follow through and make choices and move ahead. Sometimes families need more time to process, so don't be discouraged if they aren't as quick to react on something as what you might have done. And again, if you feel that there is a situation where you need some more pointers on, don't hesitate to ask. point out the positive things. You know how we try to catch our kids being good? Same thing, because we all know what it's like, you know, when you get discouraged or when the journey kind of seems never ending at some point, or that another, you know, there's just, I'm sure another thing's going to go wrong because it's been all wrong up to this point. And sometimes we need a little pick-me-up. So, you know, there's certain things that we know that would be a positive thing for their child, maybe like using more language with their child, or turning on closed captioning, or, you know, wearing the amplification more consistently. Again, don't go in and knock them off their horse and you know, or go in and turn their TV and turn on the captioning for them. But if you visit them and you notice that there's no closed captioning on, that might spark conversations. You'll be like, you know what, I really noticed that once we turn on our closed captioning, my son's reading skills really strengthened, and honestly now me and my husband can't live without closed captioning on the TV. We love it. And, you know, so it's just something to think about that I've learned on my journey, and I'm just going to toss it out there to you. And then maybe the next time you come to visit that family, if you've got the opportunity to do that, you see that the closed captioning is on, and you know, make a comment about that. Oh, awesome! I see that you have the closed captioning going on. How do you like that? Do you find it handy? You know, I'm sure you'll see some improvements in language. We can't fix everything. It's up to the family. But if we encourage them, then it makes it a happy family. And happy families are able to move ahead and not be stuck in the journey. As a parent guide, you lead families, but overall, your leadership is dictated and driven by the family. So remember that families have the right to tell you that they're not ready, to delay a decision, to drive the conversation, to change your agenda for the visit, to receive unemotional information. They have a right to be emotional themselves, to not hear your bias or your issues, to be subjective, and they definitely have the right to be treated with respect. Knowing your boundaries. Remember your boundaries as a parent guide. You are not the therapist, you are not the parent in the family, and you are not God. Know what you can do and what you want to do. A family wants you to join them at their IEP meeting. Is that okay? No. Give them the tools so that they can handle the IEP meeting on their own, because this is not going to be the only IEP meeting that they ever handle in their child's lifetime. A family wants you to be their friends on Facebook. Is that okay? No. Families and guides cannot be friends while their case is active with the family. And I know we touched on this before, but I'm just going to say it again. I don't want families to see that maybe you're posting your high scores for Candy Crush on Facebook and they're wondering why you haven't called them yet. It could be as simple as that, and we don't want that. Also, we have to keep some things private of our family. And if you're having a bad day with your child, or it's a bad day with the school district, and you just put it out there on Facebook because you got to get it off your chest, and then the family that you're working with sees that, you don't know which way that could go. So it's not that we can't have those bad days, but sometimes when emotions are high, things come out wrong. And again, you're seen as leaders. A family wants you to visit them at their home in the city, but you don't like driving into the city. So what now? Maybe you can offer to meet them halfway, or find a time when a family member can take you, or take the train and meet them somewhere. You know, so again, knowing your limits. If the family has a dog and you're scared of dogs, what do? Know your limits. Please don't feel like you have to push your boundaries or your limits because of this. there's always adjustments. Just like with our children, there can always be adjustments in the journey. Remember that we create a circle of support for the family. You are part of the circle. You're not the conductor of the circle. If a family is having issues with part of that circle, we work with them to offer suggestions to repair the issues. Help them do it, but don't do it for them. If one of the things that they're struggling with might be audiological issues, we are not to call the audiologist and find out the solution and then tell the family. We continue to support the family or give them the tools to learn how to get the tools that they need to work through the situation that they're in. Now, if going back to the Facebook thing, if I said there's a question, if you're friends with families that you're working with, then, and again, I'm stressing the working with. If you're friends with families that are in the program and you've been friends with the families in the program before you were a guide, it's a little bit different because unfriending them. But if it's a family that you're working with currently and they're your friend on Facebook, I would say that, per our policy, I can't be your friend right now, but once you exit the program, we can reconnect. And that's something that I can talk more one-on-one too. But again, you don't know sometimes. What if your kid gets a hold of your phone and posts on Facebook for you, and what they say on Facebook isn't so very nice, but people don't know it's your child? So there's so many reasons why we put that stand in our policy and procedure. All right. Righty. So, looking at you and your role in your journey so far, what is the same since your child was born, and how much has changed since then? How did you get to this point? More than likely during your journey, you had to examine your situation and make decisions. And just like you did then, you need to look at yourself now and determine if you're ready to serve this family. What adjustments do you need to make to be ready? What can help you prepare? And then who is there for you when you're having those days or when you need support? So ask yourself these questions. Do you have any shortcomings? Are you non-judgmental? Are you a good listener? Can you sit through a conversation with somebody and let them speak for 3 minutes without interrupting them? It's really hard, but that's a tool that we need. Can I handle confidential information without discussing with others? Am I coping well with my emotional issues? Sometimes helping others helps us not get away, but give us a break from what's going on in our life. But in the same sense, sometimes our life becomes to be too much for us too. And if that's ever the case, I hope that you would be honest with me and we can, work together to support you in addition to give you the tools that you need, whether it's a little time off or whatnot, so that, a happy you equals a happy guide, which in turn offers great service to families. If you are out there doing something else, working with families with children who have a hearing loss, are you able to wear those multiple hats? Can I identify the needs and the feelings of others? Am I a self-starter? Am I organized? Can I communicate well? Do I know when to ask for help? Have I examined what my motivations are? Am I out there doing this role because that professional is just awful and I don't want anyone else to use them? Or is it because I truly felt helpless in the beginning of my journey and I don't want any other families to feel that way? Am I threatened by a communication choice different than my family's choice? I have to be honest, at the very beginning of our journey, sign language scared me. And I got nervous around deaf adults because I didn't know how to act, and I didn't want the questions of, well, why aren't you signing? Why is your child oral? And other things that I put in my brain, going into that already having the situation figured out when that may have not been the case. So really being honest with yourself and being open about things that might take us out of our comfort zone. If you go through this list, you see that there are questionable areas. That's okay. We're not perfect. Again, we got our PBSs. But know that you're part of a bigger family now. If there's anything you need to ask, you can ask your teammates or me. We're here for each other. Build relationships with each other. I know it's not easy. We don't live down the street from each other. But whatever way we can make it happen, I'm game for. So if you have got suggestions, let me know. And remember, I'm always here to support you as a parent and a parent guide. Okay? You're not alone. And just because you're in this role doesn't mean we've got it all figured out. The job description for the parent. When working with parents, remember what being a parent means. We are the principal stakeholder who we have subjective and objective expertise in the context of the whole child. We have an intimate knowledge of the family dynamic, our lifestyle. We have our culture and values and our goals for our child, okay? Because the parent is the principal stakeholder of the family, that's why we need to empower them so they can carry on to care for their family and most take in a situation that most likely isn't the journey that they had planned. We want to make sure we empower them. They have a skill set. We don't know what skills are thriving and which ones need work, but recognize them as a parent and what they are able to do well, encourage them. They have their own lifestyle, values, family dynamic, and cultural competence. They are extraordinary. They are unique. And only they know what they want for their child. So educate them to make it happen. Think of the 4 E's when working with families. Empower, encourage, educate, and understand that they are extraordinary. Okay? All right. Any questions? All righty. We will move on to the post-test. So, number 1, in a nationwide survey, 97% of parents of a deaf and hard of hearing child say that they prefer to get support and information from another parent of a child that has a hearing loss. True or false? Okay. Question 2. Parent guides are A, knowledgeable about EI and educational options, B, able to offer unbiased information about modes or methods of communication, C, sensitive to the range of emotional responses that families experience, D, we have specialized parenting skills that emphasize meeting the unique needs of a child who is deaf or hard of hearing, or E, all of the above. Question 3. An effective parent guide does not adhere to the theory and practice of confidentiality. True or false? Four, parents have the right to, and these are the parents that we're working with, A, drive a foreign car, B, change your agenda for the visit, C, receive inconsistent information, or B, to be abusive. Question 5, when examining yourself for this role, you should ask, A, am I coping well with my emotional issues? B, am I able to wear 2 different socks? C, can I identify the agenda for others or of others? And D, is my belly button clean? Oh my goodness. All right, excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.